Aloha. Welcome everyone to another live digital kava session here on the Polynesian Eyes podcast. It's the first one of the year. Mr. Atearoa,
2025.
how's
Yeah.
2025 treating you?
Today, but the start of 2025, so far so good. Steadily, gradually, starting work back up this week, but next week probably um, a little bit more into it. But so far so good. It rained a little bit today in South Auckland, and now it's
Looks like the
nice and
sun's out.
sunny. Yep, sun is out. So good day to do some laundry. Help my wife did some laundry and did some shopping today since it's our Saturday. But yeah, so far so good. How about you, Tua? How's your day going?
It's Friday, man. It's been a long week.
Mm,
Obviously, we had the holiday with I had worked Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday had it off for New Year's. And then
yeah.
Thursday, Friday, been some busy days, long meetings, but glad it is Friday. Excited for the weekend. I'm going to power through our podcast here. Oh, and Tongan Style says, Happy holidays, gents. Siotafa, Mahalo, Alpito.
Hello,
T
Tommy Style.
Style, good to see you. Happy New Year
Happy New Year.
to you. Oh, Yahweh. Water Bear says, Happy New
Water
Year,
Bears.
Stokowas.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Water
Happy
Bears.
New Year. For our official PR, Water Bears will give you a raise next year. Malo and awe of Water Bears.
Mahalo.
Um, but yeah, excited for 2025. You know, it always feels like it's a new beginning, hopefully get a
Yep.
fresh start. Excited to continue this effort. I was just sharing with Mr. Atearoa. We had our best month ever on the podcast was how we closed out
Mm,
2024. But so like on YouTube, on TikTok, and also on we don't really track Facebook. What's the other one? Just primarily YouTube
Spotify.
and TikTok.
Spotify.
Spotify, yes.
Yeah.
Spotify. So really 2024 ended with a bang
Yep.
in December. So I appreciate everyone's support, all the shares, all the views, all the comments. It's been a great start to the podcast, starting year, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
So really excited for that. Anything else, kind of before we jump into our items here, Mussy? Just anything that's kind of sticking out, just like, hey, this might be something to kind of get addressed and get going. Oh, you know what? I have a question, and it's
What's up?
just because I've seen it a couple times on YouTube and also some social media. You know how Western Samoa became Samoa, but then they also moved the date line, right?
Yes.
Like
Yep.
so that I think it was for trading reasons
Yep.
for New Zealand and Samoa.
Australia. Yep.
And is it now that Samoa is now the first to greet the day? Did they get closer to the date line than Tonga, or because I seen a couple times where that's some YouTubers and stuff are saying Samoa was the first to greet each new day. But you know how that's always been a Tongan
Tonga.
claim since we were young is where time
Ye-
begins and greets first ones to greet every day.
Yeah. No. So they moved it, but apparently it's still the same time. But I know Samoa does the daylight savings. So let's just have a quick look here. So Samoa time. So it's six. So it's the same time. It shares the same time with New Zealand, which is the same as Tonga at the moment. So, but I know they do daylight savings during New Zealand's time with the winter here in Samoa.
Mm.
So to match with New Zealand, but Tonga, so far from what I know, is they don't do daylight savings. It stays the same. So I don't know if
Mm.
you're. I mean, they're the same time as Tonga with the same day, so I guess they can both say it. Um, they first one to
Mm,
meet the they,
okay.
but but seems like Tonga doesn't change the hour or the daylight. They don't have daylight savings. It's been the same since from what I remember. So Samoa has changed the day, but they still do daylight savings, but in a different season. So
Okay. Looks
yeah,
like
that's
Water Bears is
yeah.
throwing out Kiribati. I don't know if what's
Kitty,
Kiribati's time? Is they on the same time zone?
let's see, Kiribati, Kiribati. I would say they're more of the American time. Let's see here. So right now, no, it's yeah, it's American time in Kiribati. 5-9
Oh,
Saturday.
so you start your celebration in Tonga Samoa and end in Kiribati.
Kiribati. No, so it's the same day as us, but an hour difference.
Okay, okay, so still the same day. Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. T Style here says he made the correction here. Great last episode with Masi's Travels and Xiaoxi Ilayu. Yes, I'm gonna try and get the final edits for Xiaoxi Ilayu's. It's gonna be two more, so it's gonna be a
yeah.
total of three episodes. I'm gonna try and release that this coming week, maybe even over the weekend if I don't get too distracted. Maybe I'll be able to release the final, the second episode of
Part
Xiaoxi
two.
Ilayu. So
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. That was a great episode, and everybody's gonna love the next two parts too. It a lot
Mm,
of interesting things that we learned. May even mention it a little bit. Some of the things he mentions
hmm.
from the first one that we released on a couple of these videos that we're going to look at later on in the program. But so Masi, here's a question from Tui. Who is Xiaoxi Ilayu? If you want to answer
Yeah.
that.
So Xiaoxi Ilayu, I think he did his doctorate from University of Massey in here in New Zealand, and he's just a person that's fond on Polynesian history. He's kind of focused on. He's one of the few ones that's lived in different of the island states of the Polynesian states. Futuna, Uvea. He spent quite a few time there. Spent a
Mhm.
lot of time also in Ha'amoa, Polu, and Savai'i, especially. And also he did a lot of his just studies on other island groups like in Eastern Polynesia, just regarding on just trying to understand more of the the structure and the governance of Tonga.
Mhm.
That was kind of his main thing. So he said he had a difficult time. Um, he wanted more answers. I would say he wanted more answers on how Tongan society functioned, especially with the introduction of the Tui Ganubolu line, which is the third line, and just understanding on where that kind of structure came from. So that's kind of been his thing, and he's been around doing interviews, and that's how I came across him. I've heard his programs here in New Zealand, and also he was a suggestion from one of our viewers for us to try to reach out. And yeah, reached out to him, and he was happy to join us for podcast. So yeah, part two is gonna be excited for everyone. I know everyone is looking forward to it. But that's I don't know unless you have anything, Tua. Did I kind of miss
No,
that?
that's it.
Siachi
100%.
Ilayu?
Yeah, I
Mm,
mean, really enjoyed. Didn't know much about him. That's why
yeah.
we love our viewers and our listeners. You guys have great insight, share great information. We appreciate any of the information you guys send over, like Xiaoxi.
Hmm.
And one of the things I really appreciated in our discussion with Xiaoxi is he's spoken with a lot of the islands
Yeah.
firsthand, right? So he's not hearing someone else's story of them talking. He went directly to a lot of these places and had conversations with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so with that being said, there was something else I was going to bring up, but must not be that important because it skipped my mind. So let's start with our first topic for today. So maybe some of the guys that and gals that are listening, I came across Hopoi Ioane. Never heard of him before, but it looks like ABC News in um, Australia did a feature interview with him, and I thought that was
Okay.
interesting. That's what we'll walk through. Let's get one more comment here before we shift gears. T Style says he made me realize the complexity of the Tongan societal system and existing in the same time and space. I as well was under one after another dynasty timelines, which was false. Thanks. Yeah, that was one of the things he does give some good context in helping people understand, not to look with the Western perspective of how governance was done. right?
Mm.
And how he kind of talks about how the French seem to understand it a little bit better than the English. But it's kind of a really interesting discussion. So glad everyone enjoyed it. And part two, everyone's gonna, I think, is gonna really enjoy that content as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pull up Mussy, and I wanted to bring up to you. Were you familiar with Hopoi Ioane before at all?
The last name Tayone is pretty. It gives me flashbacks of the was it Epi Tayone that used to play for the Ikaritlahi. So the Tayone
Mm,
family, I've heard the Tayone surname many times, but not I'm not too familiar with Hopoi Tayone in particular. I don't know if are you the same thing or
same
did you just
thing.
come? Yeah.
Never came across any familiarity with him. But like that's the first thing that stuck out, right? Was that
Yep.
name? Was the
Yep.
name Tayone? I wonder. But what's really cool about him is he went in the 70s, and
Wow.
very early in the game.
Mm.
We spoke with our cousin Toko, who took the same path, went to
Yep.
college to Japan,
Got a
played
scholarship. Yep.
professional rugby, and now does professional wrestling in Japan. So thought this would be a cool story to kind of listen into. So we'll go ahead and just kind of get started and then go from there.
Okay.
Do you know who this guy is?
Yes, I think he works for something with the international rugby Polynesians. He kind of does interviews and stuff. 'Cause I've seen some of his stuff. He kind of goes around the Polynesian island states and kind of do interviews of people who kind of had an impact or have done or have been part of the Polynesian rugby islands kind of thing.
Okay, in
Has
the
been-
community for the
Yeah,
players, mostly the players or like
players,
tournaments.
coaches, or anybody else. And I think he looks like he played for Tonga, from what I understand, in the
Okay.
past. Ikaritahi, but I'm pretty sure I
Hmm.
forgot his name. But
10-4. Yeah, let's jump in and see he kind of just goes through his story of going from Tonga to Japan.
How old were you when you actually flew to Japan?
I was 21 because I finished high school and I was already start working for Tongan government.
Had you been on a plane before?
Before that, I flew to Fiji. Eh, going to Japan, I was still nervous. All my relatives, all my family, they were worried. The only thing that they know about Japan is karate, samurai.
All the movies, yeah.
That's how Tonga very small and didn't know about the outside.
What did you pack then? Like, because Japan, very cold. Did you have jumpers? Did you have all of the bits and pieces that you needed to travel to Japan? If you didn't have much knowledge
Good
on
question. When I pegged, luckily it was spring in Japan. Narita airport was brand new. And one of my surprise thing, when you come to the entrance, it's automatically open,
the doors.
the doors, because Narita was very new, brand new. I had to write letters to my friend. Hey, here it's like open sesame, Haripapa. You 1 meter is such. Oh man, I knew. And I said one more thing. Here, the step is moving. That's the escalator. And they couldn't believe it. Are you telling lies? That's 1979. So when I went out,
That couldn't have been very many Tongans. I wonder if there were any Tongans in Japan at that time.
yeah, are we think what year are we thinking, Tua? What year?
1979.
1979. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like there were barely any Tongans in like the U.S. at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Japan, like,
Big deal.
yeah,
Big deal.
and it's kind of cool. I mean, I can just imagine, like, when we grow up and someone tells us a story of something they saw and we're in Tonga, it's like, "Tuku holoi," it's like just unbelievable. So the doors open automatically, and like the
Mm.
escalator and stuff. Jeez, that's
Nice.
crazy.
my face when I hop out in the plane and to go out. When it was open, oh, the coldness came. I was wearing aloha and the luva, and the
Yeah.
like a skirt, very cold. So we went into them, and they said, "Oh, boy, it won't be long. It's only 1.5 hour drive." I never hop into a taxi in Tonga. Maybe it's only 5 minutes that I hop in. Oh, I was feeling vomit.
The car
Seasick.
ride was the longest car ride you've ever been in.
Motion
Yeah.
sickness.
In Tonga,
it's
so
small.
small. It's
So I have a funny story about being seasick in the Pacific. When I
Mhm.
was in Samoa, and we were at was it Nawali'i? I think that was the name of. I can't remember the name of the resort. But
Yeah.
we were at the resort. It's next to Beulah, the Beulah Cave
Oh yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
Samoa.
yeah.
Like that, the town, the resort wasn't too far from there, and we would always drive. And there was this one family that would sell coconuts on the side of the road that
Mhm.
Chelsea and I would always go. And when they were
Right.
first selling, I told him, "Hey, I'll come back in 2 days if you guys can fill a basket full of
Coconut.
coconut. I'll come and buy all those coconuts from you because I bought all the coconuts from them." So we went there like 2-3 times because we were in Samoa for like a week
Yeah.
and a half. Can't remember what it was. And so we were getting ready to go, and my older two girls made friends with a couple of the Samoan little kids in the village area.
Mhm.
So we told them, "Hey, you guys want to go for a car ride?"
Mhm.
It's like, "Oh yeah," because we had a van, those Toyota
Yeah.
vans.
Yeah.
Less than like 10 minutes into the drive, I don't know, because how we're used to the speed limit here in the
Yeah.
US. Maybe I was going too fast. Maybe they weren't as used to getting in the car or whatever. But like before we even got there, they're like, we're not feeling good. They were getting motion sickness.
Wow.
I don't, and so I don't know if it was a combination of like my speed and the driving and them not being as comfortable with it. But there's a couple. Any other comments, Masi? Before there's a couple comments here. Any feedback on
No,
what we've seen?
no, just pretty much what Hopoi Ioane has mentioned with the whole driving, because I know that's a popular topic when Tongans could come to America and they do the drive from LA to like Salt Lake City, which is like 12, 13 hour drives, and it's kind of a big deal for them compared to maybe an hour max to go from one end to the other end on the main island.
Oh man,
So
no, yeah,
but
it's true because I mean it's just it's a different perspective on time and
yeah.
travel. I mean it's even changed for me living here in Texas, right? For me,
Hmm.
5-6 hour drive, I'm gonna drive it rather than fly.
Mm,
That's and I'm just kind of used to it. I mean, my kids now when we drive, like driving from here to Utah, it's about 22 hours. We'll straight shot that, right?
mm,
We'll
mm.
straight shot that 22 hours. 12 of those hours, 10 to 12 of those hours is just in Texas.
Yeah, yeah. And then what?
You
You're
know,
crossing through to New Mexico, then you get to Texas. I mean, Utah.
you go to New Mexico, if you take that route, right? And then you go through Arizona and then cut up north,
Yeah.
or if you or you can go further north and go from the Panhandle, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah.
Oh, okay.
So there's
Okay.
there's if you go up on the Panhandle, but
Okay.
but yeah, let's here's a couple. Looks like Polynesian Prince stopped by. Malo, he says, Malo
Hello, Polynesian
Kautama,
Prince.
welcome. Polynesian Prince has done an assessment of the interviewer and says if Artie Savea and Jonah Takalua shared a half brother. So that's who they're saying this guy is. That's the cross, Savea and Takalua cross.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting, Polynesian Prince.
T Style also says Japanese are the Tongans of their area. I would agree with that.
Mm,
I would
mm.
agree with that. I mean, small island, right? In terms of Asia,
Yeah.
very influential. I mean, for goodness sake, they had parts of China, right,
Yeah.
under their rule. They had Korea. So
Yeah.
yeah, very advanced, heavy warrior
Yeah.
culture.
Japan was very unique, and I see Tongan style why you mentioned that, because I don't think Japan was ever invaded until the end of World War
World War
II. So
II.
there, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see that point. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the longest self-governing and active civilization and rulers, it was like Japan, Ethiopia, and Siam in Thailand,
Thailand.
right? And those were like the major ones. And then by the end of World War II, all of them
Fell.
had fell. And then Tonga is the only one,
Till
that
to yeah, till to
has
this day.
survived through that. T Style says our kingdoms share the same timeline. Yes. And one of the interesting thing as well, T Style, and you said oldest monarchs. In one of the interviews, one of the episodes we did with our eldest brother Daniel Fale, he has an interesting perspective on Maui Kisi Kisi. And supposedly the thinking behind it is the reason why that specific Maui was called Maui Kisi Kisi was because he had a special hat or headdress that he wore that had like two bows on it coming together, kind of very representative of the Japanese headdresses that
Shogun,
look
kind of like
yes,
a shogun or somebody of high rank. Even
yeah,
like the emperors, they wear
the
like
emperor would have that, and it looked like a dragonfly to the Tongans and the Polynesians. And this Maui Kisi Kisi, who by all, if the oral history is correct, makes it to Japan, comes back with that headdress, and that's where he gets his name, right? Because that was something that specific Maui wore, that kind of separated him from all the other Mauis. And just for any new listeners, the Polynesianized podcast position is on Maui wasn't a demigod, it was a title, right? And it was held by multiple people over thousands of years. And so that's why some people think, oh, it can't be it has to be like a demigod or a myth made up person because no one would live that long. But the idea is whenever you take the title, you take the name. And so that's why the name endures for many generations. That catches up on the comments. Masi, anything else before we jump back to the video?
No, let's jump back to the video.
All right. Let's go to Savea and Takalua's brother with our
Hopoi
brother
Ioane.
here, Hopoi Ioane.
Maybe the longest I've been is maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But
And when you saw the stairs moving, you saw the Alibaba, the doors, taxi cold. Like in your head, did you feel like were you scared of what? Oh man, should I have just stayed comfortable back in Tonga, or did it excite you that this is all new and happening?
when I first saw, I was afraid. What is this world?
Whole new world.
I was wondering what happened because in Tonga it's only going to the beach. You don't see those other things. But I just thought, maybe these are the things I am here to learn. So I have to hold back, not to be afraid, but to enjoy watching the new things coming up. For me, I still have other things to survive because of the language and things like that. But I remember when I was in high school in Tonga, we see the same exam with
What school? What high school were you at?
Tonga High School.
Oh, you're at Tonga High. Yep.
So they say,
Malo Tonga High. We're proud. I'm proud already. I'm more proud already as a Tonga High School guy.
Nice.
We can't say that about some other people we've been talking about lately, but this guy, I'm proud. I'm proud of Hopoi Ioane here.
Okay.
saying in high school always, no English, no future. When I went to Japan, I remember that no Japanese language, I will never survive.
See, I want to bring this up because I've seen some comments online, and this is becoming, I'm starting to see it more often.
Yeah.
An attack on how Tonga survived its independence was, Tonga sold out. Right? Tupou the first just sold out. He chickened out. He just, conceded to the Westerners, and that's why he converted to Christianity.
Mm.
blah blah blah. He was just a sellout. However, that's one way to analyze it, right? But another one is like Hopoi here. It is an understanding of the environment you're in, right, and where the battle is happening. And like he says here, he learned in Tonga High School, no English, no future, right? But he took that idea and he goes, well, I'm not in England, I'm in Japan,
Yeah.
but the concept applies. No Japanese,
No
no
future.
future, right? So I think, I think that's just kind of a cheap shot in my perspective. It's not a very well thought through argument to say, oh, yeah, Topo the first just conceded and he didn't fight. And I'm like, is that really the case? Or is it
Mm.
there was some more vision? There was a higher understanding of politics
Yeah.
and governance and what it means to be successful. I don't know. Any thoughts on that? But his comment there reminded me of a lot of the, kind of like the shade that's being thrown at Tonga and its ability to maintain independence.
No, I would just add on to what people with that perspective. It just to me, it's just they don't under. There was no further understanding, or they haven't had conversations to further understand the the process of what Dubo the First did. I think we touched on it in the beginning with our interview with Siashi Ilayu, talking about one of the things he did when they were raising money for the when he was a Wesleyan, right, church. They were gonna send it. The plan was some of his surroundings or people, advisors, were telling him he should send the money to Australia. But then Dubo the First and some people were like saying, "Why are we sending all the tithe if we're all believing in one God? Why do we have to
Mhm.
send our money to a different country?" But that's the reason why. See, these little changes, subtle changes, led to independent thinking. So obviously,
Yeah.
he was just thinking independently. That helps because it would have been a lot harder if, let's just say, if it was still not the Wesleyan Church like it is today. If it were still under what the big organization of the Wesleyan Church, they would have probably be taken over a lot earlier and easier. But because that was one step to combine and also build up your economic independence and productivity within your own country, that gives you a lot more influence on the domestic issues in your country. But that's like little steps like that. That's kind of what I think of when you're saying further understanding to or a deeper understanding on these were the little steps that led to the the friendship treaty of
Mhm.
um, of Great Britain with Tonga, so that Tonga will still maintain its sovereignty, but let England represent or speak on behalf of Tonga, because there was a treaty. They had that treaty to speak on Tonga's behalf that led to Tonga being independent. Wasn't colonized. So, but before we reach there, it was all of this other activities that Dubois the First kind of did, especially with creating Tonga's own church, and Tonga is kind of known for its own church with its free Wesleyan church and also the Church of Tonga, that kind of helped build Tonga's perspective on independence, not being, not looking for a partnership and relying on other countries to do your dealings on your behalf, especially in domestic issues. So those are the things. Those are the little
Yeah.
things that I think of.
I agree 100%. And it's that level of sensitivity, right?
Mm,
It's that, I mean, this is, when you train your reflexes for sports to sense when to react and how quickly to react.
mm,
I don't think you can under appreciate that little nuance is a indicator of how sophisticated the understanding of power and influence is, right?
mm,
Like
mhm.
like
Yeah,
you're saying, like 99% of the time, oh yeah, it's for God. Yeah, send it overseas.
yeah,
No, 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 no. When you're the center of the empire and you understand how power is accumulated and
yeah,
how certain decisions, even though they look small, are
hmm,
really, really impactful
yeah.
in losing power and independence, it's actually quite remarkable, those little things. And yeah, to just say, oh yeah, they just chickened out, it's like, well, how did it work out for the rest of you?
Yeah.
How did
Yeah.
how did running with your povai and fighting against the muskets work out for you? It didn't work out too well. You
Yeah.
know, so you can't just throw shade at it. I think it'd be a little wiser to try and observe, oh, what
Yeah.
happened there? You know,
Yeah.
just like Hopoi here, he's showing up. He says, yeah, man, it's a different environment. It's overwhelming, but you have to have the mindset of, well, number one, maybe this is what I'm supposed to learn. And then number two, how do I survive in this environment?
Mhm.
Right? Don't
Yeah.
get overwhelmed with the technology. Don't get overwhelmed with all that stuff. Yeah, it kind of throws you off, but then he quickly resets himself and says, okay, what do I got to do to survive? I got to learn the language. Number one, he says right off the bat, I needed to focus on other things. So 10-4.
Nice.
So first year, I said to the director of rugby of I won. I had to study Japanese, and that's how I was very fast in learning the Japanese, because all the rugby boys teach me every day. Yeah.
Now, when you talk about the little things like the barriers and the language challenges, we're going back to the 80s here. You wrote letters. Like, was that a form of, or the only form of staying connected to people back home?
Of course, we can do the telephone, but I didn't have money and things like that to do telephone. But
As in the
only
payphone
thing-
with the coins.
the only thing that I could do is to write a letter, which would
You can tell he's so disconnected from no technology.
Mhm.
The coins with the payphone, that's still ahead. That's
Yeah.
still ahead. Like in Tonga, I would never had any of those. You
Yeah.
know, but maybe in Japan, maybe he's talking about in Japan. But
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
even
just
if he could, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, Dua, this is probably he probably left. He's probably dad's age because didn't dad leave around the 70s too when he first kind of went to America? So because
I
he
think
left
Dad
in the
may be a couple years older than him.
couple
Because
years. Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because Unga and them are like born 78, 79, and Dad came a few years before, and he was already 20,
Oh, okay.
21. So he's
Okay.
probably like maybe 4 or 5 years younger than Dad.
Okay. Okay. That's all. It's
Right.
kind of close.
And he's coming in Japan's golden times, because during this time Japan
was booming.
booming. Yeah, I think it's the golden decade, I think, is the 80s to the 90s,
In
where
Japan.
Japan's economy just exploded. They had surpluses, you know, Sony and had come out with like the Walkman and stuff. Like, it was, if there was a place, I mean, even now Japan is like what, 5-10 years ahead
Yeah.
in technology and how they behave, but back then they were way ahead.
Also, with the whole manufacturing, I think that's when Toyota really started dominating the
Yeah,
car market. Yeah.
not 100%. And that was because they took one of my guys that I love to follow, Edward Deming.
Okay.
So Edward, you know who Edward Deming is?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's the guy, one of the gurus of like total quality management. He tried to take his style of management and quality to General Motors and stuff and say, hey, here's a new way to improve efficiency and quality. And they told him, oh, we don't care, we don't need that, we're number one in the world. So the Japanese came and took him to Japan, and they implemented
his
all
idea.
his stuff, and then that's how Japan really skyrocketed.
Toyota.
Because Japan in like the 60s and early 70s, I think, they were considered like made in Japan was like the junk stuff, terrible quality. And so he really turned that around. The nation as a whole really just fully
Boom.
adopted
Economic boom.
that thing. Yeah, and then it just skyrocketed from there.
Okay.
So he was in a very exciting time in Japan, in my opinion.
take maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks before my family in Tonga receive it, and then they send back. It's 1 month, 2 months that I received their reply. That kept me. It was really a bit of loneliness was there, but I always keep myself I have to survive.
Just on that as well. So writing the home address, how did you know where to write to in Tonga? Because no actual street address, is there?
In Tonga, as long as you have the name,
The village.
name of the town, the post will give it to the town officer or something.
Officer Colo.
Give this to this is the old time.
Okay.
You know, there's always a way. There's no delivery or anything. Sometimes the post office have to give it to the town officer to give it to the family. You know.
So that's the
That's pretty
first
cool.
part of it. Yeah. Any additional comments? There's a part 2 to it, but
Mhm.
wanted to see if you had any other thoughts.
No, I like his attitude when he said,
Yeah.
because I know his attitude was like he definitely felt some experience of loneliness. That's really tough on somebody being in a new place. But the mentality and his attitude was, I need to survive. He saw a greater purpose in that, and I think we can all take that example and apply it in our daily lives in trying something new or try to we think we're not capable of bigger and better things regarding job or just regarding any aspect of our lives, but if you do the hard yards, and you should be able to survive the tough times and think of and have the attitude that you're doing this for a bigger purpose. So, and that's what I got when he said that. Loneliness, sending the letters because he won't get the letters back for like 2 months or so since he sent one, and then that time frame he experienced some loneliness, but his attitude was just, I need to survive. That's a positive attitude that we can all take.
Yeah. No, and I
Yeah.
think that's one thing to really keep in mind. Like, this is why it's important to listen to older people in your family and in your village and from your country, and just the overall history of where you come from. It could be, and we see this when we do the William Mariner account, stuff that happened like 200-300 years ago. We
Yeah.
can still see a lot of parallels
Yeah.
and stuff in our lives today. Same thing with listening to some of our older family members. Listen, man, you think you're lonely, you're the only one who feels lonely, you think you're the only one that had to face some hard times.
Mm.
You can learn a lot, but also take a lot of comfort that feeling lonely is natural. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with feeling lonely, but you just have to have the right mindset, take one day
Yeah.
at a time, keep chipping away at it. And now that he's gone through his career, he is now, look, imagine all the Tongans that have gone to Japan since then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because guys like him, he performed well. Other rugby clubs are like, oh man, this guy performed well. He fit in. He's a good fit. He's a net positive to society. Let's go get more.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't, your choices don't just affect you and your future, and not even just your immediate family. It affects all of your people, and then
Indirectly. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a couple comments here. Don't want to get too far. Nuroa Pita, welcome. Malo, he says Malo,
Malo.
welcome.
Malo pizza.
Water Bear says he went and watched Moana 2. It was it was all right. It wasn't that great. I ended up seeing it. I didn't take my kids because it's a little too expensive yet. But on a date with my wife, we went and watched it, and we're like, kind of like, okay, it's okay. I think my kids will like it, but they'll have to wait till we get it on Amazon. Have you seen
I think,
Moana, Mashi?
yes. But it was okay, but the first one, I think Waterbears was right on that. First one is still better. I think regarding the music was better in the first one. But I did enjoy this. There were certain aspects that I thought was pretty cool in the Moana 2 that I think was pretty cool, that even surpassed many moments in Moana 1, especially when they're doing their fight kava stuff. That's pretty cool. They
Yeah.
have that, and the importance of the kava. But like in overall, I think the first one is still better than the second one, kind of like Waterburst. But like there were certain parts like that kava thing, I thought out of all the in Moana 2 was
Yeah, because
pretty
it's
cool.
pretty specific and pretty,
Yes.
that's a direct element of the culture that everyone can associate with, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, Polynesian Prince has a interesting perspective. Moana 2 is the result of how it looks when losers tell the story. And then he follows it up with Moana 2 is the result when the winners don't write their history.
Hey, that's a good one, Polynesian
That's pretty
Prince.
funny.
I don't know if you had. Well, what do you have to comment on that? To what do you think of Polynesian Prince's
Hey,
comment?
it's Queen Salote said it, history is written by those who win, but I guess it depends on your definition of win. We were having these comments on social media. I think I was having a conversation with someone on TikTok, and they were basically, we're happy, we're excited to see
Yeah.
stuff like Moana and seeing other Polynesians do really well. We take the position we are all the same people, the Polynation. But this individual on TikTok was trying to present it as like, oh, you guys should be grateful that Samoa are doing all this great stuff. And I said, no, I agree, and I appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
great. When The Rock does well, it provides more opportunity for not just Samoans, but for all Polynesians, right? We all benefit from it. And but one of the things I kind of was like my little jab after I said thank you, we great it is, but then I threw in there, that's one of the benefits of colonization.
Yeah.
Right. And whether the individual knew that was my jab. With every positive, there's a negative. With every negative, there's a positive. So the negative of colonization is you lose control, right? You're subjected. But the positive is, like American Samoa, that means you get early exposure to the United States, early exposure to football. You get a head start there. Tonga, you're as an independent, you gain your independence. But with that independence, there's certain advantages that you give away, which is, I'm not a American colony, so I don't have access to America.
Resources,
right?
Yeah.
Yes. New Zealand is governing over Western Samoa or whatever. You have more access to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's certain positives and negatives. And I think that's what Polynesian Prince is saying is, the loser gets to tell the story. Well, that's because they had access. They lost their independence, but an advantage is you get access to Hollywood in the US and a lot of that stuff sooner than the rest of us, which, hey, it's good. It's good for us either way. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you, Tua. And just to like my thing with Polynesian Prince, it's to me, I always think it's good they have some kind of faikava. We can always say that's the way they do it in Ha'amoa, and that's that's fine. But we can always say because that's what they have. That's what more people are familiar with. Like what you said, Tua, we got more. There's a lot more Samoans in, like they have had a head start in the movies and stuff, and they just do it. And to me, we're gonna get there, but the good thing is when you have your independence, we can choose and know when's the perfect time to interject. Because like what you said, to when you're right, I think the issue we're having, right, we talked about it maybe 2 weeks ago, the tattooing, right?
Yeah,
it's been mainstream. It's been mainstreamed and it's kind of been revitalized and everything. Now it's kind of like now there's a whole bickering of like, okay, you shouldn't do it this way. Okay, you're not someone enough to do it that way, or you're. How do you know what that means? You know what I mean? It's gotta get to a point that it's good they displayed it in the Kava thing, but who knows? Once that comes, maybe somebody's gonna have an idea that has the money, and they're gonna say instead of getting a Samoan to give money to advise them how it should be done, they're gonna do it their own way, and then who knows? That's gonna cause another controversy. You know what I mean? To us, so
yes,
those are the things that like to me, yes, when the Hamoas do well, we do well too, because that gives us an opportunity. But like at the same time, what's so unique about us and the best thing of being independent from the beginning is we we tend to learn what the others are doing first and what are the good and the bad, and we kind of take it, kind of thing. So what's the good and what's beneficial, and it's different. That's all I'll say on Polynesian Prince's comment there.
But that's a pretty good one though. That was pretty funny.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
that was a good
Prince.
one, Polynesian Prince.
T Style says Inukiai Prince. Yeah, Marie. So malo for the support there, Water Bears. So it says here they talk about Ava ceremony and yet still don't know the roots and deep history behind the Ava ceremony. And see, that's my perspective, right?
Yeah.
You know, is it's good to get exposure, but maybe we're a little biased. But the Furitaunga and the Taumafakava have a lot more intricacy to it.
Yes.
Hey, help me understand it looks like Polly Prince is saying the same thing. Ava ceremony is smoke and mirrors. Yeah, compared to the Taumafakava. 100% agreed there.
The sophistication. I think we talked about it. The
Yes.
sophistication is not close unless somebody does have it. Why they do it? But to me, it's not sophisticated. Like especially the proper of where people sit and
Yeah.
certain names, and the reason why it is done that way because of the astronomical. You kind of went through it, Dua. The knowledge with the stars because it represents the stars and the moon and the equator. So yeah, no, I mean that's where Tonga derives its kava thing, and we can always say this is probably the proper way of bestowing that title through the right because it all started from the headquarters of Tonga Tapu of the Tui Tonga. So yeah, no, good point.
Yeah, 100%. My question was, Masi, when they pour the kava, is that like I think for the ancestors? Is that a pretty set thing for the Ha'amoa culture?
Yeah, see, I don't know. That's something I'll ask one of the older Samoan gentlemen where that came from because I don't know. I'm not too sure when that started. If that's always been a thing, you know what I mean? So
'Cause,
yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure with that.
Because when I saw that, it made me think of Water Bear's cousins down Kaumiko.
Kaumiko, yes.
That's
what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking because I know some of the people who love to drink and alcohol and some of the some
one
of
for
the
the
dead
homies.
one for the dead homies, for a little bit. And I don't know. I don't want to say the hot moss got it from them, but
hey,
I don't know.
The Vaini Tacos has confirmed they adopted that pouring out from Los Angeles.
But yeah, I've always tried to try to understand that too, where that came about, because where that came from, but I don't know. But I hopefully one of our future episodes, future episodes, I probably have an answer that from some of my conversations I'll have with some of the older Samoan
Water
gentlemen.
Bears, I didn't know you was a consultant for Moana too. Water Bears. Hey, Water Bears. What's the official way to before you drink it? But yeah, I think that would be a great question to ask, and maybe if we could get an answer on where that originates from, because I've never seen it before until the movie. But then I seen a lot of people online saying like, "Oh yeah, so glad," and how they poured it in the beginning. So I said, "Oh, maybe it must be
It is a thing.
like recognized." Yeah.
I've seen it. Most gentlemen, there's some that don't do it and will just drink it, but most of the more gentlemen that I've seen, or women too, when before they drink, they always pour a little bit down. But I don't know where that came from.
Not to get now. And hey, for all our Samoan brothers and sisters, we're not trying to be disrespectful. We're just trying to have some fun here. But another way to interpret it is if you're in a kalapu and the toa just gives you too much kava, that's one way. One way to get out of it. It's like, hey guys, what am I gonna do? If the first guy is like, man, I'm not feeling good. It's like, I'll have po'iloi. This is for my ancestors.
What you got doing? That's how good those ones who are saying they just have enough. They're just trying to stay there with the homies and stuff to try to finish the last kumete and stuff before they can hurry up and get home.
Water Bear says, usually when I drink kava, I pour some out when it's too taufua, cuz.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? When you go and fight kava and stuff, sometimes people they'll drink all of it and then just that little bit because you
the
get
little
some
gravy
of
at the bottom.
Gravy, the gravy at the bottom. You kind of leave that there, and you kind of usually just kind of throw that outside. But yeah, I mean that's what I remember.
I'm starting to think they specifically hired Water Bears as a consultant for this. I mean, he is our official PR guy, so
Yes, sir.
I can
What a
see
bear.
why they'd have good taste if they hired him. Polly Prince says, I appreciate your content. Kautama influenced a lot of my TikTok under Tui. Oh, I didn't know that was you, Polly Prince. I've seen some of your content where I hope to continue to spread who we are then and who we are now. 100%. I appreciate
Malo
that.
Awe.
Great job with
Malo
that
Polly Prince.
account. I have seen that account, Polly Prince on TikTok, and that's awesome. So interesting. So T Style says they pour it for God or the gods. They proclaim it first for God. Okay, 10-4. Now that's the serious answer. Now that we've all had our good laugh, it looks like T Style has the more official answer. The
gods-
Water
the gods-
Bears.
The gods of the old, eh?
Yeah.
Or for the new gods. Eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If talking Allah ya bita Water Bears, is TikTok really gonna shut down? I don't know, man. Uncle Donald says he's gonna save
Yeah.
it. We'll see what he can
Yeah.
do.
I think he just said it's gonna be on hold until he gets into office, but I think it's not. We'll see how it goes, because I know. I mean, if it's a real national security threat, we'll see. I'm sure they can just solve that without destroying the whole organization or company. But I think it's just more of the pressures from like the other social media, the Instagrams and Facebook, who
Yeah.
want to get rid of TikTok, because I
Because
know
TikTok's
they've kind of
dominating. Yeah.
yeah. It's more of a power play kind of thing from the external forces.
Yep. I mean, it's no different than what Tupo the First and our ancestors did with the church and school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's like, hey, are we giving up too much power if we let them stay here? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how Uncle Donald handles that. Hey, Mo says, Happy New Year, Tonga kids. Malo Mo.
Oh boy.
Well, welcome to the live digital conversation. All right, let's come back to Savia and Takalua mix here.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it on mute.
Sam, what was it? Wux? That's the guy.
Is that his name?
So you've got your cap here.
Sam
Can we have a look
Weiss.
at your your test cap that you brought with you?
Still in the box.
How good is that?
This one.
So just with man, it's
exactly the same.
Still again amazing to see that even today when you get a test cap or a debut or something like that, like it's still the same style. You know? What else did you actually get with it?
This one is the this year I was in the best 15 national of the national team.
Yep.
It's number 8.
Yeah. Oh, so can I grab that for a sec? Just test my Japanese here. So that's
you must have played in Japan.
That's Japan.
As well.
Nihon. Best of 15.
Yeah. number 8.
Number 8. Hachiban.
See, oh, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah,
you still remember.
So, you know, playing for Japan, you know, being brought up in Tonga, did it feel weird representing another country at the time? I know you said like where you sweat, but did it feel weird that, you know, all your cultural roots, your family was back in Tonga?
It was nervous. I was thinking whether I can play for Japan. But I thought to myself, all these years I've been struggling. Rather than go back to Tonga and what I can do to this country, they have done a lot to me. In my heart, Tonga and Japan was the same. I feel when I am in this team, I want like the Tonga. I'll die for it. That's how I feel with Japan too. It's just my own country.
When you put on that jersey for the first time, singing the national anthem, again, you've got those emotions of feeling like, you know, I'm going to die for this country. What else was it like? Did you think back to, you know, the sacrifice? Even like, did you think about your family? Did you think about everyone back in Tonga saying and thinking like, wow, this is happening for the first time ever?
For me, when I stood there, I just thought there's no point of returning. I have to move on.
Mm.
I have this opportunity, and I do understand. I just want to do my best to this country. That's how I thought on the time.
How did you feel when, I guess, some of the Japanese people externally didn't feel like you belonged in that jersey?
I know that because they didn't get used foreigner next to them. They were still trying to mix see me, but as time goes by, we get to understand each other. For example, I was called the strange foreigner. It's my nickname,
What was it?
strange foreigner.
So what does it? What? How would they say that in Japanese?
Henna gaijin.
Henagaijin.
You
Henagaijin.
understand?
Yeah.
I was called Henna gaijin.
Is that like kaijin, like in those Japan, like those movies with the kaijins that come out of the water?
Mhm.
Have you
I
seen
have
those
no
movies
idea.
with the giant robots? Okay.
No.
Sounds like kaijin, like monsters, and he's saying like strange foreigner. They basically was
When you
calling him a monster.
No, I was
That's
just
funny.
thinking when you say robots, I'm thinking of the Pacific Rim. You know those robots were
Yeah,
coming from
that
the
one.
ocean. That one?
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't know
those
they called.
monsters that come out, they're called kaijin.
Okay, I had no idea. Kind of like
Hmm.
Godzilla kind of thing, right?
Yes, similar like that. All right, all right.
Yeah.
But it's not the prejudice thing. It's how they started to understand me because they always laugh when I make jokes to them. So even in the lineup, my sign play to jump in the lineup, we sit down and we use numbers. And the thrower said, forget about numbers to Hopoi. Just call strange foreigner. He jump. The opposition are foreigners. They don't know. So I was called, even the lineup,
Kaijin.
strange foreigner. Bang, I jump. But because of the language, we can break the barrier straight away. And they always, hey, come on, strange foreigner, let's go.
There we go. Marie.
Maria,
Any
Maria.
thoughts, Masi?
I was just thinking of how much. Oh, see, I was just thinking of like it's crazy that what he did. Can we? Is he the first one? Like first kind of Tongan to represent Japan? Is there any
That's
info you
pretty
have
early.
on that?
I mean, I didn't even think Tongans were going there until like the 90s.
Yeah, and
And
this
he's
is
over
all the
there
way.
in 79. He may have been the first one to go to college, man. I
Yeah.
don't know. I can't think of
No,
any.
I'm just thinking. Well, to me, it just goes. It's to me, it's just the especially in the league, the international players. They're so good. They have more choices, right? Because he was in a difficult situation, and he chose because he was that's back in the days in the 70s. But I'm just thinking of how much union is still kind of very difficult for player movement. But I'm just thinking of rugby league, how it's just much better for choices now that hey, if you don't get selected for the Matimatonga or you just didn't have the opportunity, now you can because without sacrificing financial, not huge financial loss for representing your heritage country. But I'm just thinking man, if Tonga can keep up the momentum, if we're bringing numbers, I think we went over the numbers. We're the number one viewership
Yeah.
in international matches. How can we not attract big sponsorship deals that maybe when we do, we can pay our players who want to represent Tonga, Matema Tonga, can get not sacrifice a huge financial loss because the sacrifice was made before in the Taumalolo and Fifita time. So that's what I'm trying to say he sacrificed. Hopefully, Union can make that change, but right now it's still difficult because he
Yeah.
played. I'm assuming he played a rugby union representing Japan, and he's made that sacrifice in his time. And some of the Tongan players have benefited. Making it easier to or creating a pathway to develop the rugby skills and search for financial opportunities. But I'm just thinking. It's just me. I'm just when he was speaking, I'm just saying, man rugby league, Matimatonga, and what Taumalolo and Fifita has done, it's only gonna propel Tonga that maybe it won't be such a financial. It's just more opportunities, more options, which is better, and won't be a huge sacrifice loss for a lot of our people who want to represent Tonga. Because if we're pulling out numbers with the most viewership in international rugby league matches, how can you not have companies? They don't care if you're gonna be from whatever part of country. If you're bringing the eyeballs, they're gonna pay you, and you're gonna get paid. So that's all I was just thinking, Dua, when he especially talked about how where rugby is at now, and just the different mindset of how people have sacrificed to move how especially in rugby league it is today. Union, there's still quite a
Yeah.
few work that we need to work through that to make it more even. But that's just
Yeah.
me. I don't know if you had
No,
anything, Dua.
no, I wanted to go along what you're saying of like what the opportunity like guys like him now provide, right? Let's come back to this comment here. De Vita Tonga Tavi says there were Tongan sumo wrestlers in the 80s. So he was in that first wave. Maybe he came in 79 to play rugby and a couple other guys came to do
Yeah.
sumo, right?
Okay. Hmm.
And I know like what I think that was Tupo the fourth worked out where
Mm.
he wanted some Tongans to come from Tonga, go overseas to try and learn the sumo martial arts. I wanted to go off of that same idea you were mentioning. Look at now him as an early Polynesian breaking through that barrier where he's the strange foreigner, right? The
Yeah.
kaiju, whatever you want to call it. And you know, it looks like there was some controversy of him making the team, right? Some people was
Hmm.
like he's not really. And look at to now. I think this is the. I don't know. Hopefully, this is relatively accurate. But I just went to the Japanese website
Roster. Hmm.
roster. So right off the bat, we have a Opeti Helu,
Hmm.
right? We have Tamefusa. I don't know if this is a Japanese name or not. The
Could be a
last
mix.
name,
Maybe it was a
yeah,
mix. Somebody lived there in Japan and had kids
yeah,
with a
that's what I'm
Japanese.
saying. It could be that, and I'm trying to think if there's any other right here.
Amanaki.
Uluiviti is this like a
Mm. Fijian.
Fijian? So we got a Wanga right there,
Mm.
another Fijian.
There's the
Looks
Amanaki
like a
Saumaki right there.
Oh yeah, I missed that. I just saw the Aki and I thought it was like a Japanese name.
Mm.
Then we have Isaiah Mapusua, it's probably a Samoan. Eh?
Hmm.
And then who knows? Maybe these Ben Gunter guys are also Polynesian, but there's a Tevita Tatafu, Faulua Makisi, right? Amato Fakatava. I mean, look at all these
Yeah.
Polynesian players.
Yeah. Not so lonely. Not so lonely when you're
Not
not the
so
only one.
lonely. See, another one here. This could be a Polynesian, is a Junta Hamano.
Mm.
And this could be a Fijian right here, Jonne.
Mm.
Man, look at this, man. Like half the team is Polynesian.
Wow.
Malo Tuitama, Yosaya Fifita.
Yep. That's a good bunch.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good group there. So, like, let's count. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
What, 12, 13?
Yeah. 11, 12. 12,
Mm.
13. 12, some right there, the quick count. All because of some early pioneers,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So really cool. It was really awesome. I thought that was, I was like, man, the Tongans were going there that early, which I mean, it's not
Yeah.
surprising, but at the same time, it's amazing,
Yeah. And
right?
I'm
They
just
have
thinking,
certain people do that.
if Hopoi Ioane, if he just felt like he just needed to quit, he couldn't handle it. It was just too much. Didn't put the effort to learn the culture, the language. I don't know if I'm just saying the trickle effect. Maybe they would say the people who actually own the rugby clubs or sponsoring it's
Yeah,
like
it didn't work out.
maybe it didn't work out, and we'll start maybe giving less scholarships unless it's a really really good athlete and coming from Tonga, but they will like put their money in scholarship somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Yeah. I
Those are
mean,
the
at the
rules.
very least, would delay it maybe another decade or so, right?
Yeah.
Where it wouldn't be like, oh yeah, we won't. It didn't work out. Let's just slow down a bit. Maybe take another 5-10 years before they try it again. So at the very least, they would have slowed down the development a
Yeah.
decade. But
Yeah.
could be longer. Masi, you want to close us out? Any closing thoughts for the episode?
Closing thoughts is 2025. Excited for this year. You know, grateful for some of the things that we're working on to kind of release. I know the 3-part series or Siasi Ilayu is coming up. We'll
Yes.
release part 2 when available. But appreciate the viewers. You know, everybody, thank you for your guys always viewing our content and also just going further than that, sharing the content. And you know, we keep asking you your continued support. And yeah, but looking forward, we're working, you know, working on some few people that I think the viewers will appreciate in our next episodes coming forth. Still working through some of that, and hopefully we'll get that sorted out. And then, you know, just a 3-part series of Xiaoxi Ilayu coming up. But appreciate everyone. You guys follow. Thank you, Dua, for the scheduling this and, you know, just creating this platform. But appreciate it. But that's all for me. Malo.
See, Malo. Appreciate it, everyone. As always, stay curious, ask the questions, and until next time, peace.
See ya.